If you want to say that my diet is restrictive, then I challenge you, try something else. Give your body 5 months of eating whole food, plant-based, alkaline, natural foods. Allow the chemicals to run out of your system, detox, and then go back to those foods and tell me if you want to eat them or not. Hi, I'm Chris James, and we've got an absolute banger today because we're going to be looking at your diet in a way that you probably have never looked at it before. See, most people, when I talk about how I eat, which is whole food, plant-based, or alkaline, or anything other than whatever your standard diet is in your area, most people will say, Chris, that's a restrictive diet. Well, here's my challenge to you today. You are fat, or you are dealing with obesity, or you can't get your weight down because you are the one with the restrictive diet. And we're gonna break this down today and hopefully open up some eyes. All right, so number one, the food you eat is calorie rich, but it's nutritionally poor, okay? I actually just had a conversation with a friend of mine about calories in and calories out. We did a whole video on that topic years ago, so you guys can check that out, see if I can link it. But the reality is calories are just a unit of energy, okay? So no different from how time is different from a clock. The energetic essence that you need is different from the calorie, okay? If you're just looking at how many calories something has, or if you're saying, okay, I can only eat a certain amount of calories every day, and you're discarding the nutrients that should be in that food, you're missing 99% of the game, all right? As a matter of fact, I will go as far to say, if you're focused on the nutrient essence or the energetic essence of a food product, and if that food product has proper hydration, you don't even have to worry about the calories. 9 times out of 10, you'll never be able to eat enough of that to create a problem as it relates to calories. And also, because calories are they're not equal, right? A calorie is a calorie is a calorie. That is a lie. Calories are different. So when you have a calorie that has hydration and it's energetically potent and it's nutritionally dense, that's going to be completely different from the same amount of calories from a food product that is nutritionally devoid, but has the calories that you're looking for, okay? See, the SAT diet, if we talk about the standard American diet, it does give you those calories and things you want, but it actually starves you of nutrition. And your body is going to keep screaming for food after you eat it because you haven't given it anything that it actually can utilize. Remember, when you're putting food in your mouth, you're not feeding your mind, you're feeding your cells. And your cells need very specific things. So even though you might feel full because you have a whole bunch of stuff in your stomach, it's not actually giving the body what it needs. And so therefore you continue to want to eat. And because you're constantly wanting to eat, what does that do? It leads to fat storage because you're over consuming. And not only are you over consuming, you're consuming things that are devoid of nutrition or what the body actually needs. And so this is one of the major reasons why you're fat or you're dealing with obesity or you're overweight or you have trouble losing weight. Is because you're not feeding yourself what the cells actually need. Now, as I mentioned earlier, people will tell me, Chris, you have a restrictive diet. Like there's certain things that you just won't eat. Well, have you ever considered that the restriction of variety is the true restriction? Meaning, despite the endless packaging, the marketing, the promotion, and everything that you get from your local grocery store, you're really eating the same things over and over that have been repackaged, marketed differently, or have a different label on it. The reality is 80% of the SAT diet comes from wheat, corn, soy, and dairy. Then you've got your varieties of meat, but you're really only talking about beef, turkey, some form of fish, pig, etc. Right? It's a very small group of foods you're eating. And so I would actually challenge you that you have the restrictive diet. Because me personally, when I said, all right, let me open myself up to a completely different world. What are some of the other foods and things I can eat outside of what I've been eating for the past 28, 30 years at that time? And what I came to find out is there were fruits that I never heard of. There were textures I never tasted. There were mushrooms I didn't know existed. The world opened up. I had so much variety at my fingertips. To say that my diet is restrictive is like, it's absolutely insane to me. But of course, you'd have to actually step outside of your box because you think if you can eat pizza, a hamburger, taco and macaroni and cheese. You've got a variety of foods when those are all the same foods, just packaged differently. So the reality is your restrictive diet, which lacks variety, is one of the reasons why you hold on to a lot of weight, because a lot of these foods are processed to the absolute max. They're genetically modified, and the body, once again, cannot break it down. It cannot get proper nutrition from it. And so what's the body end up doing with it? It stores it as fat. And this is the reason why you struggle with your weight loss. Now, when I was talking to my friend about this the other night, one of the things that came up that kind of blew my mind, I'm not going to lie, was that they still drink diet sodas. Like that's like one of their things. And usually what I do when I meet somebody who drinks a diet soda, I just like to let them know, hey, by the way, I understand you're drinking this diet soda because you believe it's better for you than a regular soda. But I always like to inform people, look, you have to look at the ingredients. There's aspartame in that diet soda. Aspartame is a chemical cocktail that allows a more potent sweet flavor with less sugar. Okay. But there is a lot of Franken food science that has to go into making that a reality. So you're exchanging what could be a natural sugar for a Franken food sugar that, yes, is sweeter, uses less actual sugar in it, but is a lower quality food. So in essence, you're getting something that's more harmful for you. So that's completely negating the fact that you're even drinking the diet soda in the first place. In my opinion, it tastes worse. I mean, usually people who like the way diet sodas taste, they're just used to them at this point. I've never really met, and this is just my own personal experience, I've never met somebody who was drinking regular sodas, went to diet and was like, oh, this tastes better. Most people find that the flavor isn't really full and it's not really there. Imagine if you could just simply find a whole food, like, I don't know, agave, that is sweeter than your cane sugar, but also like will break down in the body properly, will provide some sort of nutrients. Like you can still get similar experiences from your sodas, from your drinks, from your foods, if you use whole food ingredients. It's just we haven't been taught these things. And of course, your manufacturing plants and the entire system that wants to keep us sick, they're not going to tell you. They're going to market you the diet soda. Right? So people who drink diet soda often have more issues than people who don't, which is insane because those are the people who care about their health enough to change their habits, but they're being led astray. And that's what we see with these chemical foods. I did some research a while ago on Dorito chips and the flavoring and that sort of thing. Because I was like, how is it that with Doritos, like literally they can make a Dorito taste like barbecue wings or Sour Patch Kids, or any crazy thing you could think of that you don't think should be able to be a Dorito flavor, they can mimic it. And what they do is they have a machine, a device that can read the chemicals that create certain flavor profiles, and then they can artificially generate those flavor profiles, and you could dust anything. But it comes at a cost, and that cost is the chemicals that are in those food products or food stuff don't digest. There's no nutrients in it. See, when it comes to the SAD diet, it's heavy. We're talking salty, we're talking dehydrating foods. When you have heavy, salty, dehydrating foods, they are going to extract moisture from your body. We can call it intracellular water. We can call it H2O3. We could call it the fourth phase of water, the water that the body utilizes to create the bowel movements, to create mucus, to create inflammation in the body. Now we're eating foods that are extracting this vital water, this vital fluid, the same fluid that makes your blood. We're now extracting it because of our poor eating habits. What do you think is going to happen over a period of time when you're dehydrating yourself out? We know what happens to a grape when you dehydrate it out. It becomes a raisin. That's the reason why it's all wrinkly and stuff. Now think about human beings. When human beings are young and they're thriving and they're healthy, they're plump, they're moisturized, they don't have wrinkles. And as they get older, they get dried out, wrinkles, cracks, their skin, you could like press into their skin and it leaves dents. You don't have that glow anymore. These are all signs that you're dehydrating yourself. And what does the SAD diet do? It dehydrates you. Everything that you eat on the SAD diet is dehydrating. I'm going to take it a step further. Even the freaking water is dehydrating, because if you go and you drink a bottle of water, let's say well, I don't know if I should say a particular brand, but there's some really popular brands out there that have been sued. You could just look at lawsuits. You could just look for yourself, where they are taking filtered tap water and they're putting it in the bottle and saying it's from a spring or it's distilled or whatever the case may be. And then oftentimes what they do with that water is they'll enrich it with electrolytes, which means they're going to add minerals, they're going to add rocks, maybe salts, things of that nature, either to increase your desire to want to drink more. Okay, so you got to think of it from a business standpoint. If you go and get a bottle of water because you're thirsty and I put something in it to make you more thirsty, what are you going to do? You're going to drink another bottle of water. That's a great business plan, maybe not so good for your health, right? Now, when we look at the SAD diet and we look at what people traditionally do in these dietary practices, we're not doing anything extra to our water. We're not filtering it ourselves. We're not saying, okay, we're going to focus on distilled water. We're not structuring the water, okay? So even your water is dehydrating you to some degree. All right, so another main component of this is a lot of people mistake thirst for hunger. And so this is why we just talked about this. If you're eating foods that are dehydrating you, guess what? It's going to make you thirsty. Well, if these companies understand that people don't understand their hunger cues versus their thirst cues, they're going to mistake their thirst cue as a hunger cue. So you eat these dehydrating foods, you drink your water, whatever, everything makes you more dehydrated, right? Which makes you more thirsty, but you think thirst is hunger, so you eat more. Now you guys see how this works? When you're not giving the body properly what it needs, when you're not giving it the nutrition, what it's actually asking for, when you're misunderstanding the signs that the body is sending you, now you start to overindulge, you start to overconsume, and it goes back to that magical process. What does the body do when you have a large amount of chemicals, food waste, and it doesn't know what to do with it or process it? It turns it into fat. This is why I'm telling you guys. You're fat because of your restrictive diet. And what are the boundaries of your restrictive diet? It's the SAD diet, the standard American diet. You've got to go outside these walls of this restrictive diet. My diet is not restrictive. And at this point, what I've learned is when you start eating healthy and your mindset changes, you actually don't desire hamburgers. You don't desire food from Taco Bell. You don't desire McDonald's fries. Like, there's a lot of foods I used to eat. I don't desire them anymore. So where's the restriction there? If you want to say that my diet is restrictive, then I challenge you, try something else. Give your body 5 months of eating whole food, plant-based, alkaline, natural foods. Allow the chemicals to run out of your system, detox, and then go back to those foods and tell me if you want to eat them or not. My last point here is the restriction of healing cycles. Now, this is a huge one because constantly eating, snacking, processed foods, they're going to prevent the body from healing. It's going to prevent the body from resting. It's going to prevent the body from detoxing. The body has a natural rhythm, okay? It's called their circadian rhythm. There is a time to eat. There's a time to eliminate. There's a time to absorb. You're just eating. You're just consuming throughout that entire time, right? And then you go to sleep, and then the first thing you do, you wake up and you eat again. So the only time the body gets to actually go through this rhythm is while you're sleeping. And then most of us, we're not sleeping properly. We're not getting enough sleep. So we're getting a short period of time to sleep for the body to rest, absorb, and do everything it needs to do. And it doesn't even get a chance to eliminate properly. So you're constantly disrupting your body's natural process. And guess what? Everyone's being taught you got to eat 3 square meals plus snacks in between. So that's 6 meals that they're teaching you to eat. But the reality is, when I talk to people, I actually find that they're eating probably every 3 hours of their waking day. So you might be getting in well more than 6 meals a day, because we got to think about it. It's not just meals. It's not sitting down and I'm having, my protein and my starch and my vegetable. That's not what we're talking about. When you go and grab that bag of Dorito chips, that's a meal. Whether you describe that as a meal or not, your body is going through an entire process to break that stuff down. Okay. What I want you guys to understand is when you are on a diet, a restrictive diet like the SAD diet, for a long duration of time, you create micro traumas. So now your body doesn't have the ability to eliminate. It doesn't have the ability to heal. Your immune system weakens. You become more susceptible to disease. The more often you get disease, the more often you go to get pharmaceuticals. You have headaches all the time, you get pharmaceuticals. You have infections all the time, you get pharmaceuticals. And then every time you take an antibiotic, it takes your body up to 7 years to fully restore. Well, you're not doing anything specific to restore your gut microbiome. You just further break down. And this is the reason why you can't lose the weight, because remember, what is fat designed to do? Your fat is designed to protect you from an over-toxification of the body. In order to keep you in the best state possible, the fat cells will expand so that you don't become over-contaminated. So the body will just keep expanding, and it'll store water and contaminations in the fat cells in order to protect you. And this is why you can't go to the gym and just work this off. Or this is why you see people who look fit, but then they die of a heart attack at 55. And you wonder, how did that happen? It's because, yeah, they look fit because you're forcing your body to stay compacted, right? You're forcing the fat cells to stay restricted when in reality, you have a terrible diet. You're consuming a ton of chemicals and you're not allowing the body to help you. And so therefore you have a concentration of poison in your system, and that is terrible for you. It's one of the worst scenarios. So when I say the SAD diet or the standard American diet is restrictive, what I'm really saying is, no, it's not restricting your calories or anything like that, right? It is restricting your health. It is restricting your body's ability to heal. It is restricting your body's ability to detox. It is restricting your body's ability to grow. Remember, as we get older, we should become stronger, smarter, more resilient. We should not be withering away like a prune. If this video resonated with you, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. Join AHA communities. If you guys want to learn more information like this, hit that notification bell. And as always, the application of knowledge is power. And I will see you all next time. Peace.